meeting of September 4th, 2012. Can we please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of reflection in honor of those that are defending our freedoms. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Michelle, can you please read the Open Public Meetings Act announcement?
According to the Open Public Meetings Act, adequate notice of this meeting has been given to the Daily Record. Notice has been posted in the Municipal Building, 204 Flanders Drakestown Road, Mount Olive Township, New Jersey, and notices were sent to those requesting the same.
Roll call.
Mr. Perkins.
Here.
Mr. Mania.
Here.
Mr. Ferrante.
Here.
Mr. Nicastro.
Here.
Mr. Walsh. Mrs. Labow. Here. Mr. Roman.
Here. Okay, first item on the agenda is a proclamation from the mayor honoring September 30th, 2012 as Time to Pedal Day. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. This is from the Office of the Mayor. Whereas Mount Olive Township is a community that promotes healthy bodies and healthy minds, and whereas Mount Olive Township has planned a variety of fun and educational activities to raise awareness of the importance of making sensible choices related to one's health and lifestyle, and whereas Mount Olive Township encourages healthy choices through education and physical exercise, focusing on health, nutrition, fitness, safety, and understanding the environment, and whereas residents are encouraged to participate in the Tour de Mount Olive held on September 30th, 2012, which will promote bicycle riding as a healthy choice for all ages. Now, therefore, I, Mayor Robert Greenbaum, do hereby proclaim September 30, 2012 as Time to Pedal Day in Mount Olive Township, and encourage all residents to join the momentum of educating themselves, family, and friends about the importance of maintaining a healthy lifestyle and nutritional benefits of healthy habits such as bicycle riding in order to achieve optimum health for today and tomorrow. Signed and sealed at the Mount Olive Township Municipal Building this 4th day of September in the year of our Lord, 2012. I, Robert Greenbaum, Mayor. I hope that all of us will be participating in one form or another on September the 30th, whether it be through the planned activities that we have in the township or just simply getting out on your bicycles in your neighborhoods on that day.
Yeah, in preparation for the upcoming event, I did partake of going out on this weekend, and I think I can only do 5 miles, so I say that's still got a ways to go. All right, we're on to our first discussion item, the municipal complex sign. Mr. Canning.
Okay. This is a follow-up to our prior discussions. Last time we spoke of this, council had requested that we come back with some firmed up numbers and see if we could sharpen our pencils a bit, and also as to the comparison between a digital sign and if we were to go the route of a wooden sign. So in your backup packet, we were able to hit numerous vendors, and I had 2 others come in today, which I'll speak to, and I wasn't able to provide the physical backup. It was late this evening. But as you can see from the cost breakdown, the lowest digital sign that we have, which is full color, which would be a 50 square foot representation out in front of the municipal building, would be $25,785 for the actual product itself. That includes wireless in the installation. By comparison, a wooden sign, which would just be very about the same size, 50 square foot, very ornate. Welcome to Mount Olive or Mount Olive Township Municipal Complex. Comes in at a price of $14,500. Now, I was able to get 2 additional prices in addition to what you see in your memo here today. Another wooden sign quote, which came in for $18,900 from Butler Sign, and another full color visual display or a digital sign. That one ranged from $32,000 for just red on the color to upwards of $43,000 for the full color. So the goods and services on this vary. In the effort to keep the cost down on this, I want to thank Councilman Maney, who's done a yeoman's job on just feeding the bushes and trying to get some donations, and he was very successful. Concrete footing base we'd be able to get as a donation, and we anticipate a little on the high side here, but a landscape type of paver block would be about $1,000, where we'd be able to have some flowers and nice plantings around the item, and electrician from our in-house electrician, about $2,000 to run the conduit.
Now, what's the, I mean, are the other digital signs, they're also color too?
Yeah, they vary. Some of them, like JHM signs, very expensive, $57,000. That's for a full color. The one company that came in today, their full color was about $43,000. Butler Sign offers their full color for $32,000. So the product does vary greatly. Visual Information Services. Now they're not a small company. They have a pedigree of over 150 signs in the New York tri-state area, all the way up to Long Island. Their product is offered at $25,000 for full color. So the industry does have quite a variance as to the pricing on this. Is there any questions as to the financing and the ordinance? If council were so inclined to fund this, I would defer to Sherry. I know she's done some work on this as well.
And which sign is the administration deciding on, Mr. Mayor?
Well, we're obviously in favor of the electronic sign rather than the wooden sign for a number of different reasons, and I would ask everyone to try and not be short-sighted in terms of where they go with this. This is a sign which is going to serve the community for a number of years, and I certainly understand that we are all tasked with the fiduciary obligation of spending money frugally on behalf of the taxpayers of Mount Olive, and we've done quite a bit this year in terms of increasing our infrastructure without spending any tax dollars. So we should all feel very good about the job that we've done. Ultimately, if we go with a wooden sign, which obviously is about $10,000 cheaper, it serves no other purpose other than to alert the residents or anyone that's passing by our building as to the entrance of where our municipal building is. It doesn't educate, it doesn't give us the flexibility for years to come to be able to provide information to the residents and to others who are in the vicinity of the municipal building, such as what the health department is doing, what the recreation department is doing, what the administration is doing, taxes being paid on a certain date. It serves a great purpose and will be there as a living legacy of what we do here in Mount Olive. It's not out of the norm in terms of what other municipalities have in front of their buildings. We should recognize the fact that we are not a rural community. We are a rather large municipality in the scheme of Morris County. We serve 28,000 residents in this town, and the $10,000 additional dollars that we would spend here certainly would be made up in the service that would be provided by the sign in terms of educational benefits. So I would commend Sean and the rest of the people that work in my department in terms of the effort that they've put into this to try and find a sign which is certainly a lot more economically doable than what I had originally anticipated. And I would ask that the council support me on this in terms of moving forward with the $25,000 purchase.
Mr. Nicastro?
Yeah, I'm not going to reiterate everything the mayor said because I agree 100% with that. When it comes down to the wooden sign, to me, it's like $14,000. I wouldn't even bother putting the wooden sign back because it's just a matter of time. You know, again, wooden signs aren't going to last as long, but also it is very important for the services, and I agree 100% with that, like I said, without going into all the details. But I think it's very important that we keep our residents aware. There's streets that are closing when we have emergencies that no one knows. At least a lot of people go down that road. It's traveled very well with the middle school, and I think it's important that if we're going to do this, that it is something that will be educational and allow everyone to get use for it for the community as far as, you know, the town, and get out the message.
Mr. Mania?
I just want to add that I have a local contractor who will also pour the concrete as a courtesy. So we're going to get the concrete and the person to pour it. And I don't really believe, Sean, I don't think we'll spend $1,000 on the paver blocks.
I tend to agree. We kind of,
I'm thinking maybe
worst case.
$300 to $500 probably. And I also agree with Councilman Nicastro about a wooden sign. It's not going to last as long, and to spend that kind of money is crazy.
Mr. Maney, I applaud you in your efforts of, getting the donation of the concrete. I mean, it's wonderful when we get our local businesses to not, to contribute to the township in, more ways than one. Mr. Ferrante?
Is there any insurance reimbursement we're getting from the damage done from the old sign that would offset some of this cost?
Not as of yet. I refer to, I don't know if Jim has any more update on that. I know from the storm from last year, that is either been submitted or they're still trying to beat the bushes to get the information on to get something back from Jim. As of now, it's, I believe that is possible.
I mean, I doubt you'll find anybody on council here that would be leaning towards the wooden sign, versus the electronic sign. So now, Ms. Labo?
I just wanted to, what's the, how long do they think this sign will last? Like, what's the life expectancy? Do they know?
I don't know the life expectancy. I do know they offer a 5-year full warranty on the electronics. From my experience, from the ones I've seen around, Montville's a good example. They put theirs up probably pushing a decade already now. And just knowing the administrator there, they had no major problems.
And also, when you have to change the message, that can be done remotely by computer, right?
Yeah,
So,
the nice thing with this is it's a wireless access to it. We can. I have to look into how broad we can authorize user access, and I'm not beholden to limit it to one person. But it would be nice if we can access that board from several departments or one clearinghouse, whatever it may be. But we can do it right from the town hall here, and we can schedule messages for certain days. So we know there's a flu clinic or rabies shots, we can schedule it, and when that time comes, it will automatically go right out.
and if there's like some kind of an emergency dispatch, the police department's here, so they'd be able, if it has to be from here, they could change the message, so it'll always be current information.
Yes. Matter of fact, the vendor, all the vendors were very obviously eager to get our business, but the apparent low quote had offered to come into the next council meeting to give a full display of everything, all the bells and whistles as to how their system works, including the questions you just brought up about the wireless access and the scheduling of messages.
I know the one at the high school's worked extremely well. They've been very, very pleased with it, so I think we'll do very well having the electronic sign here. Thank
Mr.
you.
Lynch, you have something to add?
It was a question of insurance, and I know Tim Quinn was handling that. I don't know what the resolution is. I know we had submitted. I'm not sure. Tim would be able to answer that.
Okay, thank you.
I'll follow up with the JIF as well tomorrow.
Well, I mean, going forward, I mean, I don't see you guys being any opposition from council on going forward with a digital sign, unless I'm looking right at Mr. Perkins and none. Okay. Is the administration prepared to make any recommendation on the sign yet?
Well, we would recommend, obviously, Visual Information Services. They seem to be the lowest responsible quoter on the sign. I would like to bring them in if they're the lowest quote, and to also give a presentation to council in 2 weeks, and we could firm up our quotes and our numbers then and submit a formal resolution to council at that time.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, the next item is the HVAC issue in the court office. Mr. Campbell.
Jim, you want to come up with this? I'll set the table on this, and then I'm going to leave it to Jim for some of the more mechanicals and the history of the HVAC. But as a follow-up to my prior memo, we were faced with an emergency for the health and safety of our personnel down in the court office, and I'm sure as many of you know, what happened there was a plug and condensation in that HVAC system. Now, in our building here, we have 7 zones, and correct me if I'm wrong, or Jim will be able to elaborate more, but they've become separate zones. So what we experience is condensation or plugging or other problems in one section where it's not one coherent system. We basically have 7 separate systems in here. In the instance in the court office, there was apparently condensation and also a plug on the drainage hose. I'm not an HVAC guy, so I can't elaborate more than that. But the result was extensive water damage and some mold in their working environment. Now, we don't know how long that had been going on, but it was long enough to have somewhat amount of mold. It wasn't truly extensive, but the water damage was. So it tends to lead us as an educated guess that it's been going on maybe a month, 2 months, something like that. So based upon that, we were able to get a JIF contractor in here. We had to get the environmental testing in there, and then we did an immediate remediation. From my prior memo, I want to thank Frank Wolper Jr. and Scott Gaskell, the police department, Jimmy and his crew. They moved the court office within 12 hours. It was a logistical feat, and they had them up and running. And the poor personnel in the court office have really been put out for the last couple of weeks, but they're doing a great job. So we get the remediation done. The bill is submitted to the GIF. The GIF initially turns it down. So we immediately do an appeal. We contacted our contacts on the GIF. Our GIF Commissioner, Frank Wolpert, has been very active in contacting the Executive Director. We have an appeal on for September 10th. The additional info that they've been requesting from us leads us to believe that it may be a favorable appeal, and we're certainly hoping that is the case. However, we have to move forward. We have this bill as the remediation, which has to be paid. And in addition, the reconstruction effort has started today to get the court office back in there and operational within a week. It would be unfair to wait for the GIF appeal as of September 10th, it then goes to the full GIF on September 12th, and only then would we know if the GIF is going to cover our losses, and then construction could possibly start late that week, which puts the court office then out until late September. By that time, we're talking a period of 5 to 6 weeks total. Right now, we're in our third week. So we've authorized reconstruction to start today. As I've alluded to in the memo, that reconstruction cost we expect to be about $9,700, and we will submit that to GIF as well. So that's setting the table. We have an operational emergency that we had to get these people out of there, get the mold out, and get the court back up into business. And after the mayor's response, I'd like to defer to Jim to the mechanics as to how we came to this point.
All right, well, first, I mean, I understand that the condensation issue is probably more than likely a cause of a poor design, and the whole, multiple zone being the cause of it. But the drainage, it sounds to me like that might be more of a maintenance issue. Is there something that we're going to be rectifying to prevent that from happening, Mr. Mayor?
Well, my understanding, let me set the table a little bit. I think that this has been an ongoing problem for a longer period of time than perhaps Mr. Canning was even aware of. We have deferred maintenance on this building for a number of years in an effort to save money. And I think we all knew that at some point in time it was going to come back to us. And I'll let Jim speak to the exact issues. My understanding is that our system in this building is very specific to the manufacturer. And there have been attempted fixes of the system on a piecemeal basis by people other than the manufacturer's representatives who are specifically trained to work on this particular type of system. And ultimately, I believe, as I sit here today, not as an expert, but as someone who has been educated on what has occurred, that you really need to bring in a manufacturer's representative with the particular type system that we have, and that many of the issues that we have had in this building relate to the fact as to how we have decided to go through these temporary fixes on the HVAC system. The plan now is to reconstruct the court and to bring in the manufacturer's representative. Hopefully we will not need any new equipment. Hopefully it's a software issue and a maintenance issue in terms of bringing in the manufacturer or the manufacturer's representative to set up the software so it's appropriately set up to deal with the entire building, zone by zone by zone. And I think the problem in the court, at least from the way that I've been educated on the issue, is that the software has not been working properly because what we have done in bringing in outside contractors who are not manufacturers' representatives. So moving forward, hopefully, we will get a manufacturer's representative in here who will set up the system appropriately, get us working appropriately, and then all the fixes going forward will be done by the manufacturer's representative, so we won't have this problem. I was aghast when I went into the court for the first time. They wanted to bring to my attention the fact that they had a water problem. When I went in there, immediately I recognized the fact that this wasn't a water problem, this was a major problem in that area of the building. And I know that we have problems throughout the building. Ultimately, I called up Sean. I said, Sean, you have to come down here because the ceiling tiles were falling down. You could just tell that there was a major water problem in that area of the building. And I think through past administrations, there had been a lack of response to the issues that had been identified. And a lot of it, comes back to us. Because, we've said all along that one day, if we don't stay on top of the maintenance issues in this building, we're going to end up spending more down the road. Well, we're here. We're here. And now it's time to fix the problem. We addressed it. We're going to address the entire HVAC system in this building as it needs to be addressed, so that going forward, we don't have to spend a lot more money to replace the system down the road.
And does this ordinance address the entire HVAC system, or is that just for the courthouse?
What my hope is, and Jim, you can jump in here because I was really only educated on this morning, is that when we bring in the manufacturer's representative for this system, we should be addressing all of the HVAC issues in the building. And if we're not, then we need to. Because now is the time, and if we don't do it now, we're going to spend a lot more money down the road. So I am committed to fixing the problem in the building, and it may be an expensive fix, but ultimately we have no choice.
Mr. Mania?
I took a tour with Sean this afternoon. I was amazed to see a vent pipe venting inside a room. Vent pipes usually go outside the roof. This was venting right in the room. Correct, Sean?
Yeah.
I guess my other question, Sean, is what did JIF give the reason why they wouldn't honor the claim?
The initial report, as presented by our commissioner to them, did not differentiate between what was water damage and what was mold damage. They erroneously took that report to be, okay, this is mold, we don't cover mold. Upon giving them further information as to the extent of damage, differentiating what was what, JIF is taking a look at and saying, okay, we obviously have a problem here, we need to take a further look. And again, I'm not speaking for the JIF. I am optimistic from the signals that we've gotten that they will be receptive to to the information that we've provided.
Ms. Labo?
Thank you. I don't know, maybe Jim or Sean, Rob might know, with the clerk's office, when we had the water issue in the clerk's office in the vault, is that the same, was it because of the same type of a thing?
That was a water issue. It was strictly submitted as a water damage issue.
But what is it from the HVAC?
It was again from HVAC.
Okay. So this is actually the second major repair that we're doing, because we had to replace the entire carpet in there. We had to move Lisa and Michelle out into another area for, I don't know, it was like 2 months, Michelle? It was a long...
I think it was just over a month.
That was like a lot of stuff. Now we're doing this the second time. So I agree with the mayor and the business administrator 100%. We need to just fix this the right way and move on so we don't have to keep going through this.
If I may, actually, Councilwoman, it's the third time. The court was actually a problem when I arrived here in 2002. I arrived after there was remediation done. The entire court, we had the floor replaced, insulation, ceiling tiles, that was all done roughly when I commenced employment. We initiated a report from an engineering group. They came in, we made changes in 2003, early 2004, completed a level of changes that were sustainable. Budgetarily, we could not go forward. After that, it was not funded going forward into 2005. What has happened since then? We have a central computer in the mechanical room. That computer was no longer supported. It was outdated technology literally the minute this building was occupied. There is no support for that computer. There is no service. There is no one that will work on that. I have been in discussions with Train representatives, who the system is based off of Train's system. It does not exist. As modules in that system have died, no longer function. We've taken areas such as the courtroom, the court offices, the health department, and the finance department. The company that had been involved with the township, again, prior to my employment, there was a working relationship between a vendor. They were doing work on the system actively. They were doing your maintenance on filters, belts, other issues. I used them up until 2010. At that time, I noticed some things that I did not like. That is when we entered into a more formal agreement of shared services with the Board of Education. Since that time, the Board of Education technicians, one of whom is a former Train service person, have worked diligently to avoid situations like this happening. What happened in this circumstance, there was a retrofit, as I stated, to the module that no longer functioned in the mechanical room. At the time that that module dropped out, we put individual controls that did interface with the train system in the courtroom. However, those controls, there was a failure 3 weeks ago. In many, I should not say each, in many of the diffusers in the ceilings in this building, there is a thermostatically controlled, it's called a VAV system, variable air volume system. It's mercury. It senses hot and cold. It sends information back to a central command, and it closes the dampers in there to adjust for hotter or cooler temperatures as desired via the thermostat. System was working. Sherry has had minimal issues since we went to that for her area, as has the health department, as has the court since 2004 when we changed it. There was a failure. No one can seem to discern why the failure happened as it did. There's a failure. Right now, the logical answer, and I'm going to give it to you in two parts, the $40,000 I believe that's on for tonight is to address the court, specifically the court. Going forward, what we're looking at doing, and there's a representative coming in tomorrow to meet with Gary Lindsay, our code official. We will be looking at, and my drive factor as your buildings and ground supervisor will be to get a central station in the mechanical room again, much like they've discussed with the sign, to be accessed by myself and other designees, where I can real-time monitor either from the iPads that the town has generously provided, smartphone, and log in and see temperatures in parts of the building and make adjustments remotely. But it'll give us a real-time status of what's going on in our building. The drain, as far as what has happened and caused the flood, when the variable air volume valves failed, it created back pressure. The system is still trying to force as much air across the coil that makes air cool as possible. It's basically hitting what's called dead head. It can't eject cold air anywhere because the valves are now closed on the dampers. The more air that comes in, the more condensation you have. You're bringing in ambient air from the outside that is laden with humidity, chilling it, it condensates down into a pan. The pan that it condensates into is maybe a 1/4 inch deep on the unit. What happens is, when working properly, we change filters every 3 months. This has been explained to us by the Board of Education. We go in, there's a process. We bring the filters in, 3 months, we change them, we put the date on them to prove for if POSHA did a spot inspection, the filters in the ceiling right now have the date they were installed. 3 months from that date is the date they come out. In light of that, there is still always, because you're dealing with ambient air that gets pulled in through the air intakes, there's pollen, there's dust, there's other elements that are going to naturally occur. Much like if you have central air or window air conditioners, you have to clean your filters. Portion of that dust gets into the system. Now you have it pumping against dead head. The dust gets wet, condensates, and clogs where the pan, there's a filter. I have what we submitted to JIF with Mr. Gierveld, our Board of Ed HVAC technician. Those pans are checked when we do the filters, but in the interim, in that 90-day interim, things do happen. We don't have the staff to sit there and watch every pan. It was over a weekend that this instance occurred where the ceiling tiles were collapsing on the court employees when they came in. We shoot basically CO2 cartridges of air into the PVC piping system, and we cleared the blockage. After that happened, I've had the Board of Education, HVAC technicians over. We've looked at, and we are moving to get a cost to put a 2-inch condensate pan under the unit to catch it. God forbid this happens again. There'll be a backup system. The bigger thing is to look forward down the road. We can change the court. We can modify everything that's there. We can bring in a new control system and reset those VAV sensors. The bigger thing is down the road to look towards making our system as technology friendly as possible and as user friendly as possible, and look to balance. We have zones in this building that I cannot explain. I am not educated in HVAC formally. We have a lot of areas within this building where you run into dead ends in the system, so that the captain's office in the police department is freezing cold while the chief is temperate. It's all how the ducting is run. We've seen much of the ducting not wrapped in insulation. They would wrap a portion of it in insulation and then it stops. Every time you have a system where you have unwrapped ducting, you're breeding condensation. And that's what we're looking at all the way through. I mean, very simple and easy one for me to show you is right there. There's air intakes above. there are no snow baffles or rain baffles on the backside of those fresh air intakes. That is a direct relation to how the wind blows in certain storms, and we've gone and made changes where we could and put flashing in to try and direct back out. It happens that in certain storms we get water blowing in to certain areas. We've made many of the changes that were recommended in 2003 by Hannington and Masico. We just simply need to take the next step as the township. The system has failures, and we have to correct them. And if there's any other questions about it, I'd be more than happy to answer them.
Sherry?
I just want to be clear, the ordinance that I set up is not only for the court, okay? Because I knew that there was a potential that we would get, reimbursed, or that the JIF would potentially pay for this cost. So the ordinance that I set up is for general municipal building improvements.
Okay.
And what that means is that if we don't use it for the court, then we have it for other HVAC improvements that we need, okay? So it can serve two purposes, which is
Excellent.
how I wanted to do it, all right?
Does anyone, Mr. Meany?
I witnessed it today. Sean and I were walking down the hallway. All of a sudden, right by the police department there, it's freezing cold. You get in by the front door, and it's warm. So, it just...
Maybe that's where they house the prisoners.
Bright lights in there, too.
Mr. Perkins?
Thank you, Mr. President. Sean, you and I had spoke about 2 weeks ago. I asked you to look at the Clean Energy Pay for Performance program. Have you had a chance to look into that?
Yes. Yeah, Councilman Perkins had suggested that I get our old energy audit, which I did, and I supplied to you. And we are potentially eligible for the Smart Start.
Smart Start.
Yeah, Smart Start. I have the paperwork filled out and on my desk. What I'm waiting for is that requires a vendor to interact with us. So if and when we do have repairs coming in, we may be able to see some or even a significant portion of either offset costs, reimbursement costs, something through New Jersey Clean Energy. So I want to thank Councilman Perkins for that. It's very good advice. And again, going back to our audit, it did indicate in there that we are potentially able to get something from there. So it's an avenue definitely worth pursuing.
Perfect. I would say that over the years, I mean, I guess I have the dubious distinction of having one of my relatives work here. So I've spent quite a bit of time in this building. This problem just didn't happen, as Mr. Lynch has adequately said. The controllers, and we've known about these for years. The previous administrations did not proactively take charge after the audit was performed back, I believe, in 2009, if I'm correct.
I believe so.
This was part of the audit finding, that this control panel was bad. And we had heard over the years where there were issues. We know about the draft block issues when the high school kids came and popped the panels and climbed upstairs, and they told us that there was no vapor barrier up on there. And all we've heard from the beginning from the clerk of whoever the clerk of the works was at that point was the building was done on time and under budget. Well, we're going to be blowing that budget, this $40,000, and I'm hopeful that working together with Clean Energy and with a new contractor and with our administration, I applaud the mayor for being proactive and going forward. It's not going to be an easy pill for us to swallow. It's going to be expensive. This air conditioning system's old. This building's been here for a while, so you're probably looking at a completely new control panel because none of these parts exist. And I mean, that was the issue over the years, that they no longer made those modules. So we've had to jury rig over the years. The blockage and the condensate drain, I guess, what happens, a la Legionnaire's disease when we first heard about that coming out. And that was a precursor, which actually was found out to be because of drainage issues. So I have to applaud the mayor and the administration for jumping on to John and everybody who went down. I was to the court myself. Let's not delude ourselves, though. We're going to be looking at a chunk of money. The $40,000 is going to get us someplace, but I would venture to tell you guys that that's probably not quite half of what we're going to be ultimately looking at here. And I think for the health and safety and the legal liabilities that we could open ourselves up to from a mold issue and other things from our employees, that this will be the least of our problems, to take care of this.
Does anybody else have any other questions or comments? Okay, being none. All right, we're on to resolutions. There are 8 resolutions. Does anyone have any questions or comments? Mr. Perkins.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just one quick one. The last resolution for the right-of-way use with Cross River Fiber for local exchange and interchange telecommunication services. Sherry, are we going to be receiving, is that eligible for gross receipts and franchise taxes?
I believe so, right, but Sean advised me before we started the meeting that it was going to be pulled tonight, so just an FYI.
Okay, we're pulling that, okay.
Yeah, it's being pulled.
Yeah,
Disregard.
No, yeah, no problem. Yeah, before the meeting started, I had a discussion with Michael, and yeah, I think it's better off that we reach out to them, see what fees we should be able to collect from them, seeing as how for FiOS pays for using our right-of-ways.
I looked at it when I got here, Councilman, and I noticed that the agreement that they gave you, I guess, quite effectively did not offer any fees to the town for laying into your right-of-way. And I had mentioned to him that, I had seen this in a few of the other towns that we'd represented, and advised that we should possibly ask them if they want to, I would open negotiations with them for them to give us some type of fee for this, because there have been other towns where I've seen that they charge basically by mile.
Yeah.
I've seen as much as $250 to $500 a mile, and that's something that's paid annually, so it's not like a one-time fee. So I think before we go ahead and authorize this via resolution, let Fred and I take a look at it. Perhaps write a letter to this company, Cross River Fiber, and basically say, we're interested in accommodating you, but you're going to have to accommodate us too as well with some funds. So that's why we're going to pull it.
Perfect.
Okay.
I like
Ms.
that.
Leibau?
Yes, I just want to take this opportunity to congratulate Mr. Canning for becoming a purchasing agent now. That's a big plus for the township. Congratulations on passing the test. That's one thing I had said to the mayor. I kind of harped on this for quite a few years, that I felt it was very important that our business administrator be also a purchasing agent. That's just something that's really good business practice, saves taxpayers lots of money, and I'm just absolutely thrilled that we finally have our business administrator who is a certified purchasing agent as well. Thank you.
And with that segue, I just wanted to ask a question regarding the first resolution raising the bid threshold to $36,000 from $26,000. I'm assuming that's directly related to you to be a qualified purchasing agent?
Yes, under New Jersey local finance notice, it allows the township to take advantage of the higher bid threshold, which in New Jersey is $36,000. And what that allows us is leeway. And depending on the goods or service that we're looking to obtain at the time or enter into contract with, at times it is more advantageous to go into bid, even if it's below the bid threshold. Depending on the on whatever the municipality is engaged in, there are times where certainly we want performance bonds, we want warranty bonds, and the whole thing's that a full-blown bid procurement does provide and full protections for the township. There's other things of just a good or mechanical good where we're constrained by the bid process. So the digital sign is a good example. If this was to be over, say, $26,000 and we weren't to raise our bid threshold, we would then have to do the bid specifications, put out the entire bid, advertise for those bids, wait the minimum 10 days, bring it to council, go through your resolution process. So you're talking a period of not just money for advertisement, but also your time, your labor time, and in prepping these specs, where it's very easy to get 3 qualified vendors who are compliant with New Jersey business registration and other New Jersey purchasing laws and get 3 quotes. And it streamlines the process. Now, council always has the ability over 17.5. You have to prove every contract. So whether it's $26,000 or $36,000, and we use a quote system or a bid, council always has ultimate say and control of approving any contract over what they call the pay-to-play threshold. So by doing this, we're able to streamline our process a little bit, save a little bit of money in advertisement costs, and make us more flexible. But in the end, council has final say whether we do a bid or a quote.
Now, I'm assuming along with saving money and going out to bid, there's some time savings involved.
Yes, there is. The bid preparation package, it's not prohibitive, but it takes a couple hours, and we're a large municipality. We bid often. Every time we put out those advertisements, it's over $100 in advertising costs. So 10 to 15 of them a year that we could save. It's not a lot of money in the grand scheme of things, but every little bit at this point helps.
It's a cumulative effect.
All right, is there, Mr. Mayor?
Can always be changed back too if we find that it's not working for the township, which I can't even fathom that it wouldn't work for our benefit, but there's really no downside.
All right, excellent. Anybody else have any other questions on any of the resolutions? Okay, seeing none, we're going to that ordinance. Does anyone have any questions, comments? I guess we already touched this on this. We're on to our first old business. Anyone for old business? Mr. Perkins.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just ask the administration, Sean, do you have any update on the grant for the drainage issues around Bud Lake?
The last was what I had emailed you last week. The council is preparing those grant agreements. I'm hopeful, I was hopeful back in, that would be July or August. I am hopeful that it'll be on for September 18th. I've been pestering them nonstop, but the latest indication was that they would have this stuff by August 31st. I do know they reached out to Kathy late last week, so it looks like they're finalizing those agreements. For those who may not be refreshed on this, the Community Development Block Grant, we were approved for well over $50,000, and it has to do with the dry well replacements in the Bud Lake section, and it's long overdue and eagerly anticipated by those affected.
All right, and Sean, how's the status of the CVS sign?
Still with DOT, and who seem to be successfully playing the Muhammad Ali rope-a-dope on us. We have Senator Oro's office been in contact with them, I believe, 3 times now, and it's very frustrating on our part, and I don't know what the resolution to get them to move and approve this would be.
Now, and we cannot be proactive and put our own sign on there because
we would incur a lot of liability if somebody took an action based upon us unilaterally doing it. It would be devastating to the town in any subsequent action.
All right. I'm sorry, Mr. Perkins.
I reached out to Senator Orojo, and he actually got back to me. He was on a cruise with his mother. So my understanding is he is back, and Mr. Lucitra was also away last week. So I haven't had a chance to get together with them since our last meeting, Mr. President. But,
yeah, I mean, the only benefit as time has progressed, I've seen less infractions of people turning left in there as they've gotten more and more acclimated. But still, it's you're going to get an out-of-towner stopping and people assuming that nobody's going to be making a left-hand turn there, and I think the liability there would be great.
Mr. President, it's over the years I noticed the now I guess it's a value station, or not a value, or
Valero?
The Valero, that used to be the BP station. People still make lefts onto Mount Olive Road off of Route 46. I mean, it just invariably happens. They make the left at the CBS now. That's happened all along. I don't know why it says no left turn. It's understandable. I just think that I need to have our legislators get together with DOT, and even if I've got to go to Mount Arlington myself and get in the office, they need to put some signage up on Route 46, the same as you have in other areas that have the little blue signs on there, says CVS, and points off to go to Sand Shore Road, so that they get off, and then another sign that tells them to make the left. I mean, if you don't educate the public sees the place and they just think they can make a left, and forget the sign over the top, because nobody's paying attention to that. I did have one other issue under, and I would just ask the administration, Sean, if you could just get back to me on I'd like an update on the vault, the famous vault door sitting in front of Mr. Rutledge's house, along with what was finally resolved. I know I wasn't at the meeting when that was last discussed, but also I'm interested in how we're going to do the remote meter reading.
You want to jump in? As far as I know, and I drive through there all the time, there was, the issue has been resolved as it currently is situated. You drive over it, it's extremely quiet. There was a lessening of the doors itself at one point in time where there was additional noise. They came in, they fixed it, and we've been in constant contact with Mr. Rutledge to make sure that the level of noise coming off of that vault has been satisfactory to him, and I can tell you that he's satisfied as we are currently situated. We continue to monitor that on a weekly basis. We've asked Mr. Rutledge to contact us if he notices a change in terms of the level of noise coming from cars running over the vault. The second issue,
The meter, I had a conversation with Mr. Quinn on this 2 weeks ago. That meter is either installed or it's imminent, because I did follow up with them, so where are we at? And they decided upon a meter. That meter that he represented to me 2 weeks ago is either in as we speak or it's imminent. And that's electronic, so we don't have to keep on disturbing Mr. Rutledge in the road and spending the extra labor hours and blocking off the road and getting guys down into the pit in and out on a daily basis.
Would that be radio frequency that he's
Yes.
reading that off?
Yes.
I can tell you that Mr. Rutledge has expressed gratitude and is extremely happy in terms of the efforts of the township up until this point. Obviously, if there is a lessening of that structure, we're going to have to deal with it in the future.
And I appreciate Mr. Rutledge's being happy, Rob. I really do. The issue has been from the start is that the vault door was the wrong door to begin with, which was signed off on. Then it was replaced at no cost to the township. Then it was too much noise. Then the hinges broke. So the hinges were repaired. I've driven over it because I try to go over there at least once every other day, and it is noisy. It's not like it was the first day when Mr. Rutledge sat here and I said, Mr. Rutledge, are you happy? And he said, yes. I said, then if you're happy, we're happy because the administration's done their job. If this vault is going to continue to crack, then we need to address that before something bad happens to the vault. It's not so much a matter of Mr. Rutledge's noise perception as it is the safety and the integrity of a piece of our equipment sitting in the travel public right away of the road. That's just my concern.
Don't necessarily disagree with you. All I can say is that at the current time, the fix that has been done to the vault is satisfactory to both the administration and to Mr. Rutledge. So we're continuing to monitor it, and at the point where we feel that it is no longer functioning as it should function, we are going to address a different fix for the problem, and we will get to that at the point in time where we feel that ultimately it is not functioning as it properly should. Right now, we believe it is.
Okay.
Mr. Mania?
I also took the liberty of stopping at Mr. Rutledge's house and spoke with him, and he's completely satisfied. And I also rode over that pretty fast. I rode over a manhole, and I rode over that cover. And I'll tell you, the manhole makes more noise than that cover right now.
I agree.
Pardon?
I agree. I did the same thing. Right there, within 50 yards of each
Right.
other.
Excellent. All right, good. Well, I mean, I'm pretty sure Mr. Rutledge will let us know if things change.
I told him that, and he said he would.
It's not Mr. Rutledge's, it's really not his duty to let us know. We monitor it on a weekly basis. I drive over it, Sean
I
drives over
do
it.
every day.
Ultimately, it's our responsibility. Mr. Rutledge happens to live right there. If he notices something and lets us know, so much the better for us. But ultimately, it's as Mr. Perkins pointed out, it's our facility, it's our responsibility. So we will continue to monitor that, and we will bring it back to council's attention when and if we feel that the factors have demonstrated that it is not functioning as it is intended to do.
Does anybody else have any old business? Any new business? Ms. Labo?
Thank you, Mr. Roman. I just want to ask if anybody know what the status is on the changes, I guess, upgrades that they're doing to Route 46. I noticed a lot of the manhole covers and storm drains, there's a good amount of metal sticking up, and you have to kind of avoid it. And I know they've been working on it, but I don't know what are they going to come back in and put another layer on?
That's generally the way that repaving is done, that they put down an initial base, and I don't want to speak for somebody who's got a great experience, but every time that I've seen a repaving job, they come in, they do an initial base, and then they do a final base, which levels the manholes and levels the storm drains.
I just say it's making me very nervous because this past 2 days I actually saw 3 times near accidents, people all of a sudden swerving to try to avoid riding right over it. So it's just making me nervous. I just hope I'm glad they're doing the work. I just wish they would finish it up. But we don't know.
It's the state.
I know, we don't.
The state moves at its own pace.
But they are doing a nice job. I just can't wait till it's
the holiday.
Yeah, with the holiday. So anyway, I just want to say, and the other thing I want to say under new business, Friday night, Mr. Roman, Mr. Nicastro, Mayor Greenbaum, and I were at the football pep rally for opening season. And Mr. Nicastro and I were sitting there talking about all the changes, and the mayor's pointed out all the changes at Turkey Brook Park. And I was just wondering if we could set up some kind of a tour. Maybe Mr. Lynch had some golf carts, and we could, council and administration could tour around and see all the great new things that are happening on. I mean, we've heard about them. It's kind of hard to really get a chance to see them all. So I was thinking maybe an hour before one of the council meetings we can meet there and take a ride around and just see, because it's fabulous. It's unbelievable. I remember when that park opened. You probably remember also, Rob, when grand opening, all you saw were great big ruts all over the place from all the construction vehicles, and now it's just absolutely gorgeous, and I'd like to see all the new enhancements.
I agree, and I think that the portion of the park which you really can't see is beyond the inner loop when you go back towards Myers Pond, and the improvements which have been made on that portion of the park, which are tremendous.
That's why I'm suggesting the golf cart.
Well, you don't necessarily need golf carts. I'm sure that Sean will pack all of the council members, including, I guess it'll have to be an open public meeting.
Yeah.
Because if everyone goes in the same car, but you can get back there, and you can walk back there, and you can take a stroller back there, and you can ride a bicycle back there, because there is, it's all been improved. There are fields back there which have all been improved by these different sporting groups, not at the expense of the general taxpayer. There are pathways which have been improved, not at the expense of the taxpayer, but through working with general contractors in town. And Mr. Mania has been incredibly beneficial in terms of bringing those contractors to the administration's benefit. And now you can basically walk the circumference of the entire park on level ground. And I can tell you that I have received so many great compliments on what we are doing back there, and how we are benefiting those residents who don't participate in the active sports programs. And that's really where we're going with what we're trying to do at Turkey Brook. The next effort of the administration, I hope the council, is to improve the tot lot, which is, I know, Colleen, you and I have discussed that on numerous occasions, but it's really not appropriate in terms of size and scope for a town of our size.
Right.
So we're looking for ways to improve that tot lot without spending tax dollars to do it. And that's really one of the goals that I have left for this year. All of us have been incredibly successful in our efforts on behalf of the taxpayers this year. So I think it's a great idea. I'm not sure that we all need to go together. I think everyone can find a way to get back. Bicycle, take a off-road bicycle and go back there.
I just thought it'd be a good idea to sort of like talk about all of the improvements and that type of thing. And also, like I was telling Mr. Nicastro, when you get down to Myers Pond, it is so incredibly serene. You just cannot believe you're
just don't tell too many people, because then they all show up.
Yeah, I know.
I'm more than happy to take.
Sunfish is there too. So.
I'm more than happy to take 3 council members in my Jeep Wrangler back to Myers Pond.
I mean, I don't want anybody to sue me for being making this comment, but basically, the elected officials are the cheerleaders for the town, and we want to be able to be excited about all these great things and be able to explain to residents and business owners what's going on, and the best way to really understand it all is to see it firsthand. So that's why I suggested it.
This Saturday at
10 o'clock.
10 o'clock there'll be 1,000. There'll be 1,000 kids on the turf soccer field.
Yeah.
That makes about 1,500 to 2,000 resident taxpayers who will also be there. So I really think that it would be to everyone's benefit to go and to hear what the residents are saying about the job that we're doing.
Great, yeah.
Okay, excellent. Mr. Mania?
A couple of things. One, I'll expound on what Mrs. Labow said about Route 46. Especially when you're coming from Mount Olive Road and you cross 46 to go up the hill. There's a lip in the pavement that's quite large. I believe the state doesn't allow more than 2 inches. That seems more than 2 inches. I didn't get out to measure it, but boy, your teeth rattle when you cross it. Normally what's done, as I've worked for paving companies, they ramp that. And, you know, it costs money to do that, to ramp it and then take it out when you're going to pave it. But it's really dangerous.
It is.
And I agree with you.
Brakes.
Secondly, I don't know if it's proper to mention the contractor that's been so helpful at Turkey Brook. He's a local contractor, and he's really, really been helpful. And one of his employees has done a great job in getting the millings for us and spreading the millings for us up there. It has saved us a tremendous amount of money. Had we had to pave that, it would have cost us thousands and thousands of dollars. The cost of asphalt today is like $60 a ton picked up. So we have to be very thankful to this local contractor. Sean, is it proper to mention the contractor or not?
I think as proper would be, I think his desire really is to be humble on this.
Okay. Thank you.
I know we begged him to, but he's
Yeah.
been very, very humble.
I won't mention the contractor.
Well, at the risk of exposing him, I know he's not only has he helped the township, but he's also helped out the sports organizations tremendously. You know, with the football field, and also he's helped out on baseball.
Yeah, he's been a tremendous help.
You know, if he was not as humble as some of us are, I think he'd be looking for a park named after himself.
Maybe we should name one of the fields after him.
Yeah, at least an end zone.
Anonymous.
I remember that.
Very good, Ray.
Does anyone else have any new business? Okay, seeing none, we're on to our first public portion. Does anyone from the public wish to be heard? Okay, seeing none, can I get a motion to adjourn to the
So
public?
moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, at this time, I'd like to call to order the Township Council public meeting of September 4th, 2012. Michelle, can you please read the Open Public Meetings Act announcement?
According to the Open Public Meetings Act, adequate notice of this meeting has been given to the Daily Record. Notice has been posted in the Municipal Building, 204 Flanders Drakestown Road, Mount Olive Township, New Jersey, and notices were sent to those requesting the same.
Roll call.
Mr. Perkins.
Here.
Mr. Mania.
Here.
Mr. Ferrante.
Here.
Mr. Nicastro.
Here.
Mr. Walsh. Mrs. Labow.
Here.
Mr. Roman.
Here. Okay, we're going to remove the approval of previous minutes. They are not available. And we're going to go straight to correspondence. There are 31 pieces of correspondence. Does anyone have any questions, comments? Okay, seeing none, we're on to ordinances for public hearing. I open a hearing to the public on ordinance number 27-2012 entitled, an ordinance amending section 1 of ordinance number 34-2011 of the Township of Mount Olive in the County of Morris, New Jersey, finally adopted December 20th, 2011, in order to amend the source of funding. Mr. Mania?
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I move for adoption and final passage of ordinance number 27-2012.
Second.
Is there anyone from the public wish to be heard? Seeing none, it's been moved and seconded. Can I get a roll call?
Mr. Perkins.
Yes.
Mr. Mania.
Yes.
Mr. Ferrante.
Yes.
Mr. Nicastro.
Yes.
Mrs. Labow.
Yes.
Mr. Roman.
Yes. Ordinance number 27-2012 is passed on second reading, and I hereby direct the clerk to forward a copy of the same to the mayor and publish the notice of adoption as required by law. I now open the hearing to the public on ordinance number 28-2012 entitled Bond Ordinance of the Township of Mount Olive in the County of Morris, New Jersey, providing a supplemental appropriation of $50,000 for the acquisition of a ladder truck for Budlick Fire Department and authorizing the issuance of $47,500 bonds or notes of the township for financing part of the appropriation thereof. Mr. Ferrante?
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for adoption and final passage of ordinance number 28-2012.
Second.
Is there anyone from the public wish to be heard? Seeing none, it's been moved and seconded. Roll call.
Mr. Perkins.
Yes.
Mr. Mania.
Yes.
Mr. Ferrante.
Yes.
Mr. Nicastro.
Yes.
Mrs. Labow.
Yes.
Mr. Roman.
Yes. Ordinance number 28-2012 is passed on second reading, and I hereby direct the clerk to forward a copy of the same to the mayor and publish the notice of adoption as required by law. Okay, we're on to ordinances for first reading with a second reading of September 18th, 2012. Ordinance, open for first reading ordinance number 23-2012 entitled, an ordinance amending section 176-8 of the Code of the Township of Mount Olive to permit seasonal sponsorship signs in the Township of Mount Olive's parks. Mr. Nicastro.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move ordinance number 23-2012 to be introduced by title and passed on first reading, and the meeting be held on September 18, 2012 at 7 p.m. at the Municipal Building, 204 Flanders Drakestown Road, Bud Lake, New Jersey, for public hearing, consideration of second reading and passage of said ordinance, and that the clerk be directed to publish, post, and make available said ordinance in accordance with the requirements of the law.
Can I get a second? It's been moved and second. Any council discussion? I just want to add that this is something that's been a long time coming, and I'm sure the sports organizations are eager to get going with their fundraising, and hopefully it would also be beneficial to local businesses. Roll call.
Mr. Perkins?
Yes.
Mr. Mania?
Yes.
Mr. Ferrante?
Yes.
Mr. Nicastro?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh? Mrs. Laybow?
Yes.
Mr. Roman?
Yes. Okay, the next item on the agenda for first reading is an ordinance number 29-2012 entitled Bond Ordinance Providing for the General Municipal Building Improvements in and by the Township of Mount Olive in the County of Morris, New Jersey, appropriating $40,000 thereof and authorizing the issuance of $38,000 worth of bonds or notes of the township to finance part of the cost thereof. Mr. Perkins?
Caught me off guard. This is first reading, right?
First reading, right.
I move that ordinance number 29-2012 be introduced by title and passed on first reading, and that a meeting be held on September 18th, 2012, at 7 p.m. at the Municipal Building, 204 Flanders Drakestown Road, Bud Lake, New Jersey, for public hearing, consideration of second reading, and passage of said ordinance, so that the clerk be directed to publish, post, and make available said ordinance in accordance with the requirements of the law.
Second.
Been moved and second. Any council discussion? Okay, seeing none, roll call.
Mr. Perkins?
Yes.
Mr. Mania?
Yes.
Mr. Ferrante?
Yes.
Mr. Nicastro?
Yes.
Mrs. Laybow?
Yes.
Mr. Roman?
Yes. Next item on the agenda for first reading is an ordinance number 30-2012 entitled, An Ordinance of the Township of Mount Olive, County of Morris, State of New Jersey, establishing the policies and procedures of the educational and governmental television station. Ms. Laybow?
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that ordinance number 30-2012 be introduced by title and passed on first reading, and that a meeting be held on September 18, 2012, at 7 p.m. at the Municipal Building, 204 Flanders Drakestown Road, Bud Lake, New Jersey, for a public hearing, consideration of second reading, and passage of said ordinance, and that the clerk be directed to publish, post, and make available said ordinance in accordance with the requirements of the law.
Second.
It's been moved and second. Any council discussion? Mr. Perkins?
Thank you, Mr. President. Had a chance to read through the ordinance as well as the final revised agreement of the policies and procedures of the Mount Olive Television Committee. I think it's fantastic the way that it reads. I wish everybody a lot of luck. Obviously, it will benefit, I hope, a lot of the community. And I think that all of the final comments that everybody made that were incorporated in there will go a long way to prevent any infractions, hopefully, down the road.
Yeah, I mean, I think actually the easy work's already been done. I think the hard work is now going to be in getting the volunteers to sign up to be part of this committee and to actually do the heavy lifting and the legwork, and I look forward to seeing their efforts. Okay. Roll call.
Mr. Perkins?
Yes.
Mr. Mania?
Yes.
Mr. Ferrante?
Yes.
Mr. Nicastro?
Yes.
Mrs. Laybow?
Yes.
Mr. Roman?
Yes. Okay, we're on to consent resolutions. There are 7 consent resolutions. Does anyone wish to remove any to non-consent? Okay, seeing none, Mr. Perkins?
Yes, Mr. President, I move for adoption of consent resolutions numbers 1 through 7.
Second.
Okay, is there anyone from the public wish to be heard on the consent resolutions? Seeing none, any council comments? Roll call.
Mr. Perkins?
Yes.
Mr. Mania?
Yes.
Mr. Ferrante?
Yes.
Mr. Nicastro?
Yes.
Mrs. Laybow?
Yes.
Mr. Roman?
Yes. Okay, we're on to motions. Mr. Mania, there's the bill list.
Mr. President, I move for consent motion number 1, the bill list.
Second.
Been moved to second. Anyone from the public have any questions on the bill list? Anyone on council? Okay, seeing none, roll call.
Mr. Perkins?
Yes.
Mr. Mania?
Yes.
Mr. Frente?
Yes.
Mr. Nacastro?
Abstain from check number 62126, and yes to all other.
Mrs. Laybow?
Yes.
Mr. Roman?
Yes. Okay, we're on to administrative reports. Anything, Mr. Mayor?
We have a bunch of things to report on. First, let me start by bringing to everyone's attention, I'm sure that everyone is already aware that in the past 2 weeks since our last council meeting, we lost 2 members of our community. Al Melviger passed very quickly after a routine operation. He developed complications, and within a couple of days passed on. Al was a valued member of our community, served on numerous committees, the last of which was the library board. I think he may have also served on the ethics committee, I'm not sure. What's it? Solid Waste Advisory. Al and Barbara, you know, have long been involved in Mount Olive civic responsibility, and it was an extremely sad day and a very sad duty that I had to go to the Melviger household. Colleen was there when I was there to pay my respects. I had asked Jim Lynch to lower the flags at the municipal building to half-staff on behalf of and in respect to Al Melviger and his, he will certainly be missed. We also obviously lost a 15-year-old within the last couple of weeks. The individual lived in my neighborhood. Anytime that we lose somebody of that age, it's an incredible loss to the community, and we all grieve. And on behalf of all of us, I paid respects to his family and offered whatever services were, municipal services were available should they need anything in the short term with respect to their loss. Also, we lost one of the firemen at the Bud Lake Fire Department lost his son as a result of a brain aneurysm. He was 18 years of age, and I know that it's been a terribly difficult time for that particular individual, and I'm sure that everyone joins me in offering condolences to him and his family, and also whatever services that the township may have been made available. You know, we've just lost too many people in such a short period of time, and hopefully we can move forward with a better time frame in Mount Olive history. Transitioning to another issue, we are currently involved now in an effort with other municipalities, in a competition with other municipalities with respect to a food drive. So anything that we can do to help Mount Olive and Morris County with that process, I've made available. If you have any interest in being involved, you can contact Lisa Pignataro, who has more information in terms of what we can do as a community to better that. I know that Sean and I, on an unrelated but somewhat similar, are participating in an event at ShopRite to bag groceries. You gonna do it also, John?
Yes, I'm gonna do it.
Sean and I are looking at the 20th in the morning, so if anyone else, maybe we can make it a group effort.
20th?
20th is when Sean...
What time?
What time are you looking at?
Sean?
9, 10?
Yeah, 9 or 10 in the morning.
I'll check further,
Okay.
give an exact
Should be able to
time.
firm up within the next several days.
Ms. Leyba?
Mayor, I did it last year, and it was really a lot of fun. They have one aisle specifically set up with balloons, and they make this great big announcement, and you got to sit there and bag while the groceries coming through. So I had a really good time, and I was glad that I went over there and did it. So it was you have to kind of learn at first how you're making sure you stack them up nice. So if you guys want some, I can train you before you head over there. No problem. It's a lot of fun.
I'll pass on the training. Thank you, Colleen. I think I'll make my own mistakes. Looking at the list of things that we had to advise council on, obviously the turf field is 99% complete.
Beautiful.
There are some issues related to the ground that was disturbed outside of the turf field, which still need to be addressed. I assume as soon as the weather becomes right, that they will address those issues. So on Saturday at 10 o'clock, we'll be ready to go with opening day. It is a great field. I know that Gene was out there today with the soccer people looking at the drainage issues. There were some concerns in terms of drainage, but I think a lot of that just simply has to do with the amount of rain that we got last night and the fact that the field has not been used, which creates a static situation, which doesn't actually provide for a true measure of the drainage capabilities of that field. But I know as a half an hour went by, all of the concerns were alleviated, and certainly we'll keep track of that, and if there are any issues, we'll address them. But obviously that field cost the township nothing. Nothing. From the soft costs to the hard costs, ultimately it will save the town money because the maintenance costs related to that field, the watering, the mowing, are all going to be non-existent now. So in the long run, the township has benefited in a number of ways beyond the fact that we're now going to have a field that basically can be played on in all weather conditions.
And that field is slated to last at least 11 to 12 years?
Well, that's what the bonding process was. But, you know, now what we're talking about is the field will last forever. The carpeting at some point will need to be changed. So the amount of money which soccer is putting into it will last forever, with obviously some change to the carpeting. You don't have to do the underbase again. You don't have to get the field ready. It's simply lifting up what's there and putting down a new carpet eventually. And if we get 15 years out of it, great. If we get 20 years, if we get 6 years, you know what? The town simply provided the mechanism for making it happen. And we're looking at other avenues. Obviously, football took advantage of it. I've offered it to soccer. Baseball may need it at some point, depending upon the sale of the Bud Lake building. So we're really doing a good job in terms of bettering our athletic facilities without spending taxpayer dollars, which is why we're all sitting up here.
If I may interject, Mr. Mayor, I mean, this is it's an excellent example of a partnership between not only government but semi-private business. I mean, our soccer club has got to be one of the premier soccer clubs, if not in New Jersey, at least in Morris County. I mean, the amount of work that they do between the volunteers and it's just amazing. And the fact that we're able to partner with them to not only improve, make their field use better, but also improve our flagship of a park. It's tremendous.
It's not only the semi companies, it's the actual companies, as Mr. Maney indicated earlier as I was leaving to take care of some other business. Our facilities have been improved through cooperation with actual businesses that are involved in town. And you can just go back and look at the back practice football field to see access to the field, leveling of the field is all done by a company that is a for-profit business that is looking to benefit the township because they are based in Mount Olive, they believe in Mount Olive, and they believe where we're taking the town.
Excellent. Anything more?
Touch the lighting project first.
Yes.
The lighting project, this was done at the same time as the turf field, and it's magnificent. The kids on Friday night had a great night. I really want to recognize the efforts of a couple individuals, because this was a little bit more tricky than the turf field in that we had to get JCP&L to move what they're doing, deliver transformers, and get approvals and have them do it quickly. Dealing with the utility is never easy. We pulled every contact and string we possibly could to get things done, and I want to give all the credit in the world to Jim Lynch, Tim Quinn, and Gene Buzinski, but most of all Frank Wilper Jr. Frank did an absolutely magnificent job. He didn't let up on JCP&L at all, and in what is almost a miracle, these lights went on the ground and were delivered within 9 days. The poles were up, but more importantly, JCP&L responded, worked with Lamppost Electric, and they flipped the switch that afternoon, literally 2 hours before the pep rally for football, and they went tirelessly, and they weren't going to stop till they had that lit for the kids, and they really came through.
Mr. Mayor?
One thing I'd like to point out, and Jim, correct me if I'm wrong, as we discussed earlier today, there is absolutely no spillover effect from outside of that football field. So that none of the residents who live adjacent to the park are affected by the lights. So, you know, we've really done a good job there in terms of the balancing between existing homeowners and the need for athletic facility use.
Yeah, well, I'd like to add also that, I mean, those lights definitely went up in a miraculously amount of time, because I would say that 70% of the people that attended that pep rally had no clue that we had installed lights on there. Some people even thought that those lights had been there for years. You know, it is kudos, and now, I mean, I'm sure those the boys are going to be looking forward to playing, you know, under the lights. Anything else?
Yeah, last thing I have, Corey Road. The striping went in, as was sent in the email to you. The as they call them, the knockdown signs. I don't know the proper term for them, but they're on back order to provide a stopgap and make sure we had some a safe environment for the kids. Timmy Quinn came through with the variable message boards, working in conjunction with the police department. They have the signage up there on both ends. I was there before the meeting today, and they had that in place in time for opening day. So we anticipate the full amount of the speed reduction effect to be done within 2 weeks. Unfortunately, the manufacturers they're in back order from the knockdown signs when the police department ordered them.
All right, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, one other issue. We received an email today with respect to, I know Alex, you saw it because I saw you respond, but in case anyone didn't see it, with respect to the crossing guard on Wolf Road and
Aldersgate.
Aldersgate. And I know that I had requested that Mark Spitzer contact the individual who had sent the email in terms of his concerns that the crossing guard had been removed. The answer to the question was that, in fact, Chief Spitzer had gotten the Board of Education to actually put a bus stop so that those kids, instead of walking, are now offered a ride to the school, which alleviated the need for the crossing guard at that location. But Chief Spitzer indicated that he would have a police officer there tomorrow to make sure that it's working appropriately, and we will deal with whatever issues arise as we become alerted to them.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's going to be some people rather upset that there's going to be a bus stop for, what, 30 feet? You know, but the amount of money that'll be saved by not having a crossing guard there is going to be, you know, definitely, you know, outweighed. Okay, anybody have any old business, new business, administrative, legal? Tonight. Okay, we're on to council reports. I'll start off with the recreation. Football season officially opened with Friday's pep rally. As Ms. Leibau indicated, herself, Mr. Nicastro, and the mayor were in attendance. I was not happy with my throw.
I had a great throw.
You know,
Alex, did you see the spiral on mine?
You know,
I had two people stop me and
yeah.
say what a great throw it was.
Almost immediately from my throw, I received numerous texts indicating that I should stick to baseball.
Notice how they didn't say basketball.
That's because they've never seen me play.
Yeah, well, maybe they have.
It was followed up by the trophy game on Saturday versus Newton. Was not aware of the scores for the other levels, but varsity won 16-0. And if I can make a personal plug-in, my son had 4 tackles with a fumble recovery.
Very good.
If I could, we lost the trophy to Newton.
Whereas so the outbalance,
I
so
think
that means we must have lost Pee Wee and JV.
I think we lost, we won Pee Wee and lost everything else besides varsity.
Well, that is a shame. We'll win it back next year. It was definitely a great day for football. Not too hot, not too cold. Sun was shining. And that is all I have for recreation. Oh, just a reminder, the high school football season opens up this Friday.
Friday night?
Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, there are actually a ceremony to celebrate the original or one of the older coaches to name the field, the high school field after him. There'll be something at halftime of the football game Friday night, and then there are events that are planned for Saturday evening as well, which required, I guess, purchasing a ticket. But my understanding is that the football team this year has a good chance of competing at the highest level. Excellent. So I suggest that everyone get on the bandwagon early and watch what could be really what I'm hopeful to be a state championship year for Mount Olive Township.
Excellent, excellent. So right after Sergeant Venice's retirement party, we'll head on down. Okay, we're on to Board of Health. Mr. Perkins.
No meeting, Mr. President.
And Legislative?
Nothing to report past what I told you before.
Okay, and Mr. Walsh is not here, so Open Space, Mr. Ferrante?
Nothing for open space. Library was canceled yesterday, and it will be rescheduled for the 11th.
Safety Committee, Mr. Nicastro?
No meeting yet.
And Economic?
Same, no meeting yet.
Okay, Senior Citizen?
Nothing.
And Ms. Labo, anything on Pride or TNR?
Nothing on Pride, but for TNR, they just received a $1,000 government grant for TNR, which they plan to use hopefully at the Henson, King Village, and Eagle Rock Village apartments. They're working with the management there now. That's actually, as Michelle Lerner put it, the last frontier, the last area that they haven't been able to TNR yet. And let's see, 3 years ago when they started, the township had actually trapped and impounded 181 cats, and so far to date this year only 14. So there are less kittens being born, there's less cats roaming around. It's been a very successful program, and I got to tell you, they do, all of them put a lot of time and effort into it, and it's a wonderful project, that wonderful committee group that they have. Also, they just they're having a Stretch Your Mutt fundraiser, and I believe most of the council received links on that. So we have everybody in the group who has dogs, we're strutting our mutts to help our kittens, and it works out pretty well. And that's about all we have to say right now.
Okay. All right, we're on to our last public portion. Does anyone from the public wish to be heard? Seeing none, we're on to council comments. Mr. Perkins.
Just to update, Mr. President, I had Michaels had sent off a copy of their determination for that temporary sign, a yellow sign at the Bud Lake Fire Department, and based upon our ordinances and state statute, they are a public area and are exempt from permitting requirements. They would still have to obviously comply because they're on the highway, so they want to make sure there's nothing flashing or anything else. But I had suggested to Michael to contact, also copy Mr. Buzak, which he did, so unless something deferential comes back from the planning board, there was no necessity on their permit for them not to be able to have the temporary sign. So they are exempt as a public entity.
Excellent. Congratulations, Mr. Perkins, on getting that resolved. Okay, Mr. Mania?
None.
Mr. Ferrante?
None.
Mr. Nicastro?
I just wanted to remind everyone that the Mount Olive Child Care Golf Outing is coming up on October 1st. If anyone's interested, go to mountolivechildcare.org and sign up at Panther Valley this year. It's up Monday, October 1st, and we need golfers.
And if I was a golfer, I would participate.
Well, even if you aren't, but we'll take anybody.
Why isn't that you play basketball then? I don't understand.
There's contact allowed in basketball. In golf, I don't think they're allowed. They end up swinging at somebody.
That's fine.
Ms. Labo?
Yes, I just want to congratulate Mr. Roman on becoming a grandfather. And I know we kind of missed that at the last meeting. And he has joined the ranks of grandparents, and I'm very thrilled to find out somebody else here is a grandparent. Yay! And also,
Yes.
Mr. Mania is as well.
Oh, you have a new one too?
No, no,
Who's this guy,
3.5-year-old.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I know. I think John and I and now Alex are grandparents. So
I guess my AARP is right around the corner.
yes, it is. And since your birthday's on Saturday, I also want to say happy birthday, and hopefully you'll be getting your AARP membership soon.
Thank you.
Have a
very
great
much.
weekend.
Thank you. And I have nothing. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Before you move it, I just had one other thing to add real
Yes.
quick. I just wanted to commend Sherry on a fine effort in terms of best practices done to the state of New Jersey as was required. She worked very diligently and, as always, has represented Mount Olive Township in the best fashion possible from a financial aspect. So congratulations to Sherry.
Excellent.
Thank you.
You don't blush much, do you?
No, not at all.
Motion to adjourn.
To adjourn.
So moved.
Been moved in second. All in favor?